Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's lesson on God is our refuge. The last couple of weeks, we've been going through and talking about different characteristics and attributes of God that are talked about in the Bible. And so today we're continuing with God is our refuge. And today we're going to be talking about the verse of Psalm 46. So I'm going to go ahead and read that, and then we'll talk a little bit about what that means. So Psalm 46, it reads, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her, and she will not fail. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, and the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress.
What is interesting about this psalm is that even though it starts by just describing that God is this refuge, what is this strength and ever-present help in times of trouble, we find that throughout the whole psalm, there is kind of like these descriptions that happen about what does that mean for God being our refuge. One of the things that is highlighted is just his power and his greatness. Last week we talked about how he was the Almighty, and therefore what it means is that he has the capacity not only to affect us at an individual level, but he also is capable of addressing like whole nations. And when we go through the stories of the Bible, God was capable of making his own people win in different circumstances. So really, this is the type of God that is really mentioned by this psalm. And it's not a God that just, is in times of war, but even, let's say, through these examples of like roaring waters or quakes of mountains, when all things around us just seem to, collapse, would essentially collapse a whole city, God is there and God protects that city. So, in this example of what it is in the Old Testament, it was very important for Israel to rely on God in these times of trouble when armies would come and try to seize their cities and stuff. It was God the one who would bring the victory. And I think that is really what we have to think about as God as a refuge, is that he can be a refuge for not only us, but also for our city, for our nation, and especially important in these times. Why? Because he is almighty, he can protect us, he can bring things that would essentially, destroy our city to a halt. And that is the God that we want as the God of refuge.
And so it's really interesting that the Bible presents God as this fortress because, as you know, in times of war and things, you would run to a fortress because you were safe there, and it was harder to break into the walls and be killed that way. And so when we run to God, he protects us from things that are going on around us. Now, they still may be going on around us, and we still may not know what it's going to look like. But the point is that we run to God, and God speaks to us and says, Be still and know that I am God. And because he is the Almighty and he is the protector and he is the provider, we get essentially the job to just sit there and know that he is going to take care of us, that we don't have to go out and we don't have to fight battles. We don't have to fight wars. We don't have to fight against disease or earthquakes or anything like that, because God will take care of us and will protect us because he is God. So our job is probably the hardest job of just being still and 100% just trusting that God is going to work this out, that he is going to be the one that will be our fortress, especially in times like this. And so the image of a fortress is just, it's really beautiful in just the way that that God is our fortress, that we can run to him. He will hide us within his walls, and people won't be able to get in. You can't get past God. And so it's just a really cool thought for the day. And so we'll pick this up again on Saturday with another couple of thoughts on God being our refuge. So we'll see you then.
See ya.